Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming to Seven Oaks for our fourth Quilts of Valor presentation ceremony. Thank you very much to Steve Seaver for that wonderful medley of patriotic music on the bagpipe. I don't think many programs actually have that option. I'd also like to extend a special thank you to the Legion Riders from FAR. We were not sure if or how many would be able to attend. We have, it looks like, a couple of spouses perhaps are here. And they will accompany the parade of veterans at the end of the program through the park on the golf carts. It is my privilege and honor to welcome each and every one of you to this, our fourth annual Quilts of Valor program here at Seven Oaks. Before we begin today's program, a few special thanks are in order. We would like to extend a special thank you to Mary Washburn, who was the original initiator of the Quilts of Valor program here at Seven Oaks. Thank you to Bill Dedek and Marcia Dedek for Zooming us so that distant family and friends can join us and be with us in spirit today. And to the committee that put is Mary Washburn, Cindy Olson, Gail Dennis, Loris Peterson, with an E, not an O, Deb Taylor, Brenda Gatchell, Leanna Hastings, and Cindy McGinnis. Thank you for your commitment to and tireless effort to this program, without whose vision and talent these quilts would not have come to life. And to Seven Oaks management, Kathy Sutton and Aaron Dunlop, our owner, for their support of this worthy venture. But most of all, to our veterans, those honored before, those to be honored today, and those yet to be recognized. Thank you for your service. Hardly seems enough. Many volunteers have helped to make this a special day, from the hall decorations to the fabulous golf carts And let's not forget the refreshments that will follow at the end of the program before they escort a golf cart parade through Seven Oaks. Anyone who has helped with this program, please stand and be recognized. And I would like Tommy Boulon now to come up and lead us in the Veterans Prayer.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, I've served my country. My love for her is strong. Stood behind Old Glory when others thought her wrong. I've joined in celebration and raised a toast and cheer. I pledged her my allegiance and sung her anthem, dear. I've wept for fallen comrades who proudly fought and died. The freedoms they defended I cherish deep inside. I'm proud that I'm an American. For her strength and peace I pray. There is no greater country. God bless the USA.
And now I would like Mike Leonard to call all veterans, both national.
All veterans, please rise. Remove your cover, please. Veterans, attention. Home. Right, please. Present arms. Order, arms.
And I would like to have our Master of Ceremonies and Grand Marshal, Bill Anderson, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's stand and face the flag, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Bill. Please remain standing as we sing the Star-Spangled Banner, and Tommy is going to lead us in that. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Please be seated. And now Loris Peterson is going to read a short story about the Quilts of Valor history. Is that your phone?
The Quilts of Valor is a single lifetime award presented to. Want me to start over? Okay. A Quilt of Valor is a single lifetime award presented to active military or veterans. The mission of Quilts of Valor is to cover those service members and veterans touched by war with comforting and healing quilts of valor. Quilts have been sent to all 50 states from volunteers in all 50 states. Since Catherine Roberts began the Quilts of Valor Foundation in 2003, as of December 31st, 2022, 333,349 quilts have been awarded to service members and veterans. The volunteers of Quilts of Valor feel deeply the desire to go beyond words and present tangible physical evidence of their appreciation. Their further desire is that your fight for our freedom, safety, and peace will not be in vain in our lives or the lives of our loved ones. The Quilts of Valor are pieced together and quilted by loving and appreciative hands of hundreds of volunteers across the nation with love, prayers, and healing thoughts. These quilts are lovingly crafted through hours and hours of devotion, and the quilters hope that their quilts wrap you in the love of many grateful Americans.
As we present the quilts today, I have a short poem to explain to you a little bit about the quilt. It's a few pieces of cloth from people who care. To honor your service, it only seems fair. It's carefully chosen materials of red, white, and blue, sewn together for those patriotic and true. A top piece together with caring and pride, then quilted with backing and a warm layer inside. Every stitch and seam sewn from the very start with appreciation and gratitude straight from our heart. For you who have served and sacrificed for those here at home, may this quilt warm and comfort you wherever you roam. Our hope with this quilt is to make sure you know we appreciate all that you have done and all you have been through. Thank you. And before I make the first presentation, I would like a special lady in our audience to rise. Miss Deborah Cantu. Deborah, you want to just stand a quick minute? She graciously helped us quilt, and we really appreciate it, and thank you for coming to our ceremony. Okay, Mr. Bill Malone, come on up. It is my honor to introduce Bill Malone. Bill enlisted in the United States Army and served from February 1974 through February 1967. Bill had a strong desire to serve his country, just like his father who served in the Korean War. Part of Bill's time in the Army, he was a truck driver. It was a great job, like driving the mess hall truck. But sometimes it was very boring and sometimes extremely busy, and in combat, it was very dangerous. Bill received an honorable discharge in February 1967. After 5 years, he pursued returning to the Army with great resistance. Too many dependents, as he had 2 daughters, Barbara and Linda. With great persistence, he was able to join the Navy with the rank of E6. He began his service in the Navy as a diesel mechanic, and then he transferred to security. His final assignment was in charge of the drug testing at Great Lakes Naval Station. Bill, we honor you for leaving all you held dear to serve, whether in times of crisis or peace. This Quilt of Valor says thank you for your service, sacrifice, and valor in serving our country.
Bill, your family back home says they love you.
Aw. Homer, would you step forward, please?
I would like to introduce US 55983863 Army veteran Homer Lawler, who served from September 28th, 1966 through September 14th, 1968 as a cook and truck driver. Homer, at the age of 18, was working the farm and walked into the house to find his mom had gotten the mail, and right there on the table was the draft letter. He went to basic training for 16 weeks where he received AIT, or Advanced Individual Training, at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Then to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, as the only cook on his shift. Arriving in Vietnam on January 1st, 1968, Homer drove truck picking up KPs, making deliveries to the mess hall, and delivered food to the helicopter pads, which dropped food to the guys in the battlefields. He was there for 8 months. One thing about Homer's truck, it had no brakes. So he would have to use other methods to slow and stop it. Yes, Homer had reported the problem, but on one particular run coming back from Saigon, he was to pick up a pallet. Now, he hadn't been told what he would be hauling on his truck. And his truck was towards the back of the convoy, too, yet. When the lieutenant in the front truck of the convoy, who'd been smoking a special cigarette, suddenly had to stop with no warning, the whole convoy stopped. Homer, being towards the end, turned one way to avoid a crash, only to realize there was an oncoming vehicle, and so turned back behind the vehicle in front of him, crashing into it as he couldn't stop. Thankfully, discharged honorably and got home. He felt blessed that he was welcomed back, able to attain good employment, and was married. As with many who served in Vietnam, Agent Orange exposure was disabling, and Homer is a level 2 diabetic, but still feels blessed as others that were exposed suffer worse symptoms. Homer and Liz first came to Seven Oaks in 2011. She passed away in 2021. One moment here after their arrival, there had been a string of thefts in the park. Homer and others set up a neighborhood watch, and one night, Homer sat in his chair near his camper, shotgun in his lap, and watched. Around midnight, he'd seen a vehicle come into the park and watched as people were dropped off. As one of these walkers cleared his sight, Homer got up and walked over and said something to the person, took his shotgun and shot it upwards. It really made a loud boom, scaring all the thieves away and waking up the whole park. Those thieves, amen. Those thieves were never seen again. A disclaimer, please don't try this yourselves. Homer's grandfather served in World War I, but his father was unable due to health. We are so thankful for your service and honored to present you this quilt made by Gail Dennis and myself. Welcome home. there for the same reason. A car pulled up, and this beautiful young woman with really long hair, a very short dress, and high heels, and driving a Stingray came and picked him up. His buddies were shocked, to say the least, but they didn't know she was his cousin. Most of those buddies went right in, but Craig headed home for 6 months, leaving in December 1975 for boot camp in San Diego, California, then to EOA, or Equipment Operator School, at Port Hueneme, California. Craig's first duty station was 9 months at Roosevelt Roads, then 9 months at Vieques Island in Puerto Rico for 9 months, where he was assigned to loading and unloading munitions off of ships. In his off time, he enjoyed snorkeling, especially for lobsters. Lots of lobsters. He and other snorkelers fed many people until they found out that the lobster was a protected species. Yeah. Craig's second duty station was his home port at Gulfport, Mississippi, where he was attached to a Navy Mobile Construction Battalion, NMCB 74. He also was a CO, company commander, driver, and ambulance driver on base. It was 72 hours on and 72 hours off. His first detachment was for 9 months in the Indiana Ocean on the island called Diego Garcia, where he ran a construction expansion saw on the runway project, along with operating dozers, graders, and rollers. Also driving a really big, the tires were as tall as people, 50-ton rock dump truck. The barracks there were made of tin, plywood, and screen, so things dropping from the trees made a really loud bang, keeping the guys awake. One of them took a picture of Craig, and he sent it home to his mom. When she saw the tattoo he had on his arm, she said, "I hope you had enough smarts to put clothes on that naked lady before you come home." And he did. Craig also spent time in Rota, Spain, doing the same duties. Craig's last duty station was Guam before receiving his honorable discharge. Being a CB advancement was very difficult because there were so many equipment operators. Craig's son also served 4 years in the Navy. Welcome home. We are so thankful for your service and honored to present to you this quilt made by me.
Alan, you want to come up? Alan Shannon was in the Army National Guard from April of 1973 to April of 1979. He was a road grader operator while in the service. Gives you a good job when you get out. He was a Spec 5 when he did get out of the service. His favorite memory is when his wife of 6 months got to come visit him at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and she stayed the weekend. Now, if you have never been to Fort Leonard Wood, you're not missing anything because there's nothing there. I've been there. And I get the privilege of doing the only lady, Sarah. Sarah Hannon was in the Air Force from July of 1979 to July of 1984. She was appointed squad leader in basic training and was a tech school official when she started in the security police, K-9. She then went to the Philippines with a dog she had trained in scent and attack. She also performed in dog demonstrations. Following that, she moved into work as public relations / historian. In that position, she earned Historian of the Year for the Air Pacific Command. Did I get that right? Pacific Air Command. Then she was off to Incirlik Air Force Base in Turkey, where she earned a position as a broadcaster, focusing on TV, the 6 and 10 o'clock news. She was a staff sergeant when she got out of the service. Her favorite memory is getting to work for then Commander, now retired Major General Thomas McInerney, who is on the Fox News occasionally. His favorite saying is, if you don't take care of your people, you can't fly and fight. That better?
I would like to bring up Paul Allen Blankenship. Better turn my mic on. Paul Allen Blankenship served in the United States Air Force. He was discharged at the rank of E4. His dates of service were from May of 1987 through June of 1991. And his tour of service was at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. Given that he was from Arkansas, it was really far from home, I'm sure. Paul's primary job was as a crash firefighter and emergency medical technician, which he kept up the certification after exiting his military service. Paul said his duty was pretty nice at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio. It was a premier base because it was a site for international officer training. At Lackland, everything was the best available to ensure a favorable impression on visiting of officers. Pardon? Paul said that the military prepared him for life beyond his military service. It turned him into an adult with a greater appreciation for our country and freedom and way of life. And we have a quilt here. It is an honor to present you with this Quilt of Valor. May you find comfort and warmth in knowing your service and dedication to our nation is appreciated. That corner. That's a big one. Paul didn't want to see the quilt before today, so it's a special thing.
Got two announcements to make. We have a couple Zoom announcements. Mallory Roberts says, "Love you so much, Poppy." And Sharon James, "Congratulations, Dad. We love you." Your son's having a hard time getting connected. He's still working on it.
It is my pleasure and an honor to introduce the next recipient of the Quilt of Honor, Jim Gray. Jim enlisted. He actually did it on his own. He didn't have a letter in the mail, nothing. He enlisted, and he enlisted into the U.S. Army the 14th of July in 1974. From then until July 15th of 1976, he was in active duty, and then from July 15th to 1980, he was inactive or reserves. His first training job dealt with a 31 mic radio operator. That was his primary MOS. His second job was as a supply specialist, 76 Yankee, and his third job was a CO driver. You know, he got to drive around the guys that couldn't drive, that just wore buttons and stripes and stuff on. Okay, that led him to be in Germany, and that was under the NATO exercises. And as a driver, besides keeping the vehicle on the road and taking care of his CO, he was supposed to be looking for Russian activity. So naturally, I had to ask him if that was a balloon or anything like that. And he said, no, that was before that. He was driving along at a reasonable amount of speed, I'm sure. You could call in where we were at. I'm okay. I'm off my communication stuff that I was doing and wasn't really watching the road. And Jim, being the good soldier and driver that he was, just kept driving, not even looking back to see what happened to the Russians. He said, I was just doing my job. Jim's basic training was in Fort Dodge, Louisiana. Fort Polk, Louisiana, in July, August, and September. And all he could say about that experience was hot, hot, hot. And it wasn't that other kind of hot, hot, hot. I think we can all relate to that as we sit in this room honoring all of you. He was then sent to Fort Gordon, Georgia, and his AIT sent him to Germany for 18 months as a supply specialist, a 76 Yankee. There are many stories about the trip to Germany. Laurel has a story to tell you about the angel that found her and her toddler son in a huge airport. So you need to ask her about that sometime. It's a very special angel that helped her make the connections that were nearly too impossible to make. And remember, she had not been out of her own county until she packed her bag and her toddler son to go meet Jim. Little did I know until Jim and I were having a conversation, and he does talk, that when you have your partner coming over to you while you're serving. I said, well, did you live on base then? And he looked at me like, lady, you don't know anything about the service. And he was right. You have to be an officer in order for them to be able to live on base. So all of the arrangements he made for his family were out of his pocket financially and what they could find in the town that they was close to the base. They also have a daughter and a son. And then Jim finished out his time waiting to be released from active duty to inactive duty. In 1976, his ET-5 was in Philadelphia. When asked, what did it teach me being in the U.S. Army? He said, responsibility and respect. And he didn't take a breath. That just came right out. He was, as I mentioned before, with every, his young, oh God. Okay, I need the quilt. I need my prop here. All of our quilts have quilts label on them telling them when they received who pieced it, who quilted it for us. And Jim, again, without missing a beat, said, when I can no longer take care of my quilt, it is my wish that it be given to my youngest son, Nicholas, who serves in the U.S. Army.
Not sure who it's for, but Gavin's iPhone said, love you, Grandpa.
Good afternoon. I'd like to introduce Glenn Lee Briggs. Glenn served in the United States Navy from August of 1970 to August of 1975. He was an engine man. Glenn was a member of the commissioning crew on the USS Stein, which was a destroyer escort. He did a Westpac in 1973 in the Tonkin Gulf, escorting an aircraft carrier. He became a shellback when crossing the equator in 1972. His most exciting event was when the ship went through a typhoon in the Tonkin Gulf, and the front gun mount was caved in by the storm. He was a part of a burial at sea when an officer on the ship died. Glenn is very proud of his service for his country and made lifelong friends. It's an honor to present you with this Quilt of Valor. Now I have the honor of introducing my husband, Ted Gatchell. Ted served in the United States Air Force from January of 1972 to March of 1978. He was an administrative specialist with the Strategic Air Command. He worked in the Special Services Division at the Base Commander's Office at Wurtsmith Air Force Base in Oscoda, Michigan, which was the home of the 379th Bomber Wing, which maintained the B-52 bombers and the KC-135 air refueling tanker. Ted's most memorable moment was the Arab-Israeli Yom Kippur War, when the military was put on high alert. The 379th was set to deploy to either Europe or the Middle East, and luckily the war lasted only 19 days, so the 379th was not deployed. With the creation of the Palace Chase program, Ted was able to leave active duty and serve his remaining years of enlistment at the 121st Tactical Fighter Wing at Rickenbacker Air Force Base in Columbus, Ohio. So that's how the New Yorkers got to Ohio. It's an honor. To present this quilt of valor.
It's my honor and pleasure to present my husband, Chris E. Haston Jr. As he said, that's how his name is on his birth certificate, so that's his name. Am I okay? Chris enlisted in the U.S. Navy in May, and I can't see, in May of 1970. Following boot camp and engineman school at Great Lakes in Illinois, he was assigned to the tug Acoma in San Diego, and he was in San Diego for 2 years, serving as chief engineer the last 6 months that he was there. As an aside, when Chris and Glenn have been down at the shuffleboard court this year, they found that their draft numbers were just a few apart, and that Chris and his tug, I know it was Chris's tug, Chris and his tug towed Glenn on the ship that he was on around the harbor. Now, little did we know this many years later, we would all be here together sharing these special moments. Chris served in the active reserve until July of 1975. And I thank you for your service, Chris, and it's an honor to present you with a quilt. Thank you. You have to kiss me again.
Melinda says, I love you. Chris.
I'd like to invite Mike Leonard, Danny Dennis, Jim Alberts, and Leonard Van Houten up for the folding of the American flag.
What do the colors of the flag mean? According to custom and tradition, white signifies purity and innocence, red signifies hardiness and valor, and blue signifies vigilance, perseverance, and justice. The symbolism of the 13 folds of the U.S. flag. The American flag is one of the most important symbols of the United States. Folding the American flag into a triangle gives unique honor and respect to the flag. The flag is folded to represent the original 13 colonies of the United States. Each fold also carries its own meaning. Here's an explanation of what each of the folds means. The first fold of the flag is a symbol of life. The second fold of the flag is a symbol of the belief in eternal life. The third fold is made in honor and remembrance of the veterans departing the ranks who gave a portion of their lives for the defense of the country to attain peace throughout the world. The fourth fold represents the weaker nature, for as American citizens trusting in God, it is to Him we turn in times of peace as well as in times of war for His divine guidance. The fifth fold is a tribute to the country, for in the words of Stephen Decatur, our country, in dealing with other countries, may she always be right, but it is still our country, right or wrong. The sixth fold is for where the people's hearts lie. It is with their heart that they pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The seventh fold is a tribute to its armed forces, for it is through the armed forces that they protect their country and their flag against all enemies, whether they be found within or without the boundaries of their republic. The eighth fold is a tribute to the one who entered into the valley of the shadow of death that we might see the light of day. The ninth fold is a tribute to womanhood and mothers, for has it been through their faith, their love, loyalty, and devotion that the character of men and women who have made this country great has been molded. The 10th fold is a tribute to the Father, for He too has given His sons and daughters for the defense of their country since they were first born. The 11th fold represents the lower portion of the seal of King David and King Solomon and glorifies in the Hebrews' eyes the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The 12th fold represents an emblem of eternity and glorifies in the Christian's eyes God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The 13th fold, or when the flag is completely folded, the stars are uppermost, reminding them of their nation's motto, "In God we trust." After the flag is completely folded and tucked in, it takes on the appearance of a cocked hat, ever reminding us of the soldiers who served under George Washington and the sailors, Marines who served under Captain John Paul Jones, who were followed by their comrades and shipmates in the armed forces of the United States, preserving for them the rights, privileges, and freedoms they enjoy today.
We will be having a musical accompaniment momentarily. Steve Severs is going to play taps for us. And Cindy Olson will be closing the program.
You may be seated. The Veterans Poem. Tribute to all who gave some and all who gave all. Well done, good and faithful vets. You have served faithfully day by day and honored our precious nation that we proudly call the USA. You left your home and loved ones and all your dreams and plans to protect the freedoms we all hold dear at home and in foreign lands. With heroes' hearts, you went forth to do all that you could do as you offered your lives to protect us all under our old red, white, and blue. No glory did you seek for self or fame for your own name, but you went forth humbly for the cause that would never bring you fame. Because of your pain and suffering, we still live in a land that's free, where we all can live in peace in our great land of liberty. So today we honor each of you and pray God will bless you all, for each of you who gave so much and for each one that gave all. It has been an honor for all of us who have participated in this event to be part of this Quilts of Valor presentation ceremony today. We want to thank each and every one of you attending today for your support of Seven Oaks and this effort, and hope you find it as special and as moving as we do. We, the committee, want to extend a special thank you to each veteran and their families who, through their service, have selflessly given a portion of their youth to serve a grateful nation for a greater good. You are invited to enjoy refreshments, and then in about 30 minutes, please prepare for the parade of honor accompanied by our veterans, motorcycle escorts to my right, that will tour Seven Oaks Resort after we take photos of our honorees and their quilts to be sent to the Quilts of Valor organization for documentation. Thank you again for attending.
A message for Grandpa Glenn. We love you. And I have a message from an iPad. Congratulations to my veteran buddy, Alan Shannon, and all the other veterans there. Good job. Okay, this ends the Zoom meeting. We will go ahead and close this session. This will all be uploaded into YouTube, and we'll add photos as they are provided. We'll add photos as a slideshow at the end of the YouTube video. So, Zoomers, thank you very much for attending.